Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today we're here with Andres, who got second place at the Texas Regional this past weekend. Andres, how's it going, man?
Hey, hello, Joey. Everything good, man. Happy to be here.
Awesome, I'm glad to hear it. So, alright, you took Cooler to the first event of the Ultimate Squad format and got second place. Huge congratulations. Why did you play Cooler?
Okay, so I have a very weird, like, how do I pick my decks? Because every time the set is dropping, I just pick one leader and stick to it. So in this set, it was Cooler, the lucky one, and I just grinded, man.
Awesome. So you just like the deck. Were you always a green player, or did you just start playing green with Cooler?
No, actually, I have always been a green player. Actually, green and yellow, but I'll stick more with green.
Awesome. All right, cool. So we're gonna take a look at the deck as a whole because I feel like it makes more sense to do this. So, all right, we have the leader. Very simple. I'll just explain real quick. So when you attack, you can play a Unison from your hand. If you don't play a Unison, you can draw a card. So with that effect, I mean, I find myself usually drawing the card, but do you oftentimes draw the card, or do you play the Unison with the leader effect?
So I do also play the Unison. It depends if I want more draws. If I don't have like the starting hand I want. So I just swing with the leader. If it's a turn one, play a Unison plus a Unison, then pay one for another Unison, so I get one draw and empower, so I can establish the Unisons. And or I can also draw a card if I have, for example, Demigra, which I don't want to leave it in the early turns.
Got it. And speaking of Demigra, so we'll talk about the Unison lineup now. So of course there's 4 Salsa, 4 Nezzy, makes a lot of sense. I want to go next to only 2 Demigra because I don't know, I find this card kind of important to start the game with, but you're only playing 2 copies, so why is that?
Yeah, so I didn't have much time to actually test the deck. Demigra was the latest addition to it, and he was MVP, man. I gotta tell you that. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna bump it to 4 in the deck just because having Demigra established in turn 1 is huge for the deck.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree, but that makes sense. And you know, again, big congratulations for not having enough time to test, but still taking second place. That's really cool. All right. So next up, we are talking about the Universe Unison. So we have 4 copies of Whis, and we have 2 copies of Vados. So Whis is a really cool one. Whis is very similar to the Frieza Galactic Dynasty, where if you play it and you have enough markers, you make your opponent discard a card. That's very cool. It seems like you also teched in Vados, which allows you to KO an opponent's battle card, which I like this tech a lot because in my testing with Cooler, I noticed that sometimes spot removal was kind of lacking. Like sometimes you want to be able to kill bigger battle cards, and you know, charismatic villain doesn't always get the job done. So overall, how did these 6 Unisons, the Whis and the Vados, how did they do for you?
Yeah, that is correct. So first Whis, he's just hand destruction and a Unison for my leader. I can combo with it, and I cannot swing with it because he's just a 9k. But the main reason he's there is for the empower, since the other 2, besides the Frieza, is in power 2, so Whis is in power 3, helps me to go to 4 pretty easy and then put the golden Frieza on top of him. But most importantly for the hand destruction. And then about Vados, like you said, it's just spot removal. She was clutch, I run it as 1, and then I had to bump it to 2 because if I see her in my hand, I just save it to the right moment. If not, it's just another draw, you know.
Nice. So one thing I am curious about, you know, Cooler is not necessarily a pure hand control deck, but you have some effects that take cards from your opponent's hand, right? So when you were playing against opponents, was Deborah, Ritual at Hand, or any other like anti-hand control cards, were they particularly annoying or not really?
Well, funny story, because my only loss was the first place Finn, and he played 2 Deborahs from a Rosie play I had. And that pretty much made me lose that matchup. And yes, it was kind of annoying. Everyone was siding it, but since the deck is fairly new, people doesn't know that I played hand destruction. Sometimes they didn't side it. They weren't prepared for it.
I see. Yeah, and I don't think hand destruction was not very popular last format. So this was probably a good tournament to take Cooler because maybe a lot of people didn't really have Deborah in their side deck potentially. But that might change now that Cooler got second place and Green Cell is also doing very, very well. But yeah, definitely a good time to play this deck. But anyways, for other Unisons, you're playing one Dore. So do you feel like this card is necessary or kind of just a last minute addition?
Not necessary. I just have it in case I need the one drop Cooler. I kind of want to take it out just to add more Demigras. Because currently the deck is at 56 cards, that's kind of a lot, but since the deck also draws a lot, I think I'm fine with it. But yeah, that Unison is not necessary, to be honest.
Cool. And then one copy of Cooler Armored Squadron. This card's really cool because it can search a lot of your Unisons and it can also play a Cooler from the top 7. So I think this is a pretty interesting inclusion, but only at one copy. Would you play more of this? Would you cut it just because your deck is at a high number? What do you think?
So I would not cut it because if you have really, really, really bad luck and you don't see any Unisons at the starting hand, you can just pay 1, look at top 7 for a Unison and play it. And that's the only use I have for that card. I won't cut it because it may be needed sometimes, but it's not like a requirement.
Gotcha. And I think for Unisons, that's pretty much all the small ones. And of course, we have the big boss monster, Golden Frieza, Newfound Might. So were you able to negate with this a lot, or did you mostly just play it on offense and kill people with it?
To be honest, I just played it offensively. I've never negated with that card.
Really? Okay. Yeah, no, that's totally fine too. Sometimes you can be very sneaky with it, but I mean, if your opponent expects it, then it's a little bit less good. But yeah, no, just the fact that it board wipes on any turn is really, really good.
Yeah.
All right, so that seems to be all of the Unisons. Let's move on to some other cards. So only 2 copies of Cooler Sibling Cruelty. Why only 2 copies?
So I think 2 is fine. You won't have time to play it more than 2 times in the game, because you cannot play it 2 times in the same turn, for example. And it will be alive around turn 3 to 4. So you want to end the game at turn 4 or 5 at least.
Okay.
So I find 2 copies of it more than enough.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. And then we have our Fuse Zamasu, Didi's Wrath. I think that's perfect with Charismatic Villain. And then, of course, we have Dormant Potential. Not too much to talk about there. But then we have 2 Rosies and 2 Rebrands. So your deck is a little bit more teched. And also, actually, 2 Cells Kamehameha. So your deck is a bit more teched for hand control. I've definitely seen some builds that don't really play a lot of these cards because they're not necessarily engine cards. But how did these 6 cards perform for you?
They perform very well, man. Like Rebrand and Rosie, for example, I use Rebrand when I'm going for game. The Overwhelm, well, we're not there yet, but I just keep them low hand, then try to read the whole hand, double strike, create Overwhelm, and triple strike with the Unison. That works so many times. They were at 5, so their super combos weren't alive even, and they were amazing. Rosie helps me to remove Unisons, for example, when I need it. And Cells Kamehameha speaks for itself. I reap super combos, I reap SCRs. I like the factor of luck over there.
Very cool. Yeah, we can move on to the Overwhelm next. So you're playing 1 copy of Goku Man on a Mission. So I think this is actually a really good deck for a card like this because you're poking at their hand, you're kind of like crunching their resources, and then it becomes much harder to deal with this 20k double strike crit. So that the main play you mentioned, which was they're at 5, double strike crit them to 3, and then you can triple strike them with the Unison. That makes a lot of sense. I like that play a lot. I think you would say this is probably the best Unison to play in this deck. I mean, best Overwhelm play in this deck.
Yes, without fighting against Fade, I think the double strike created Goku Man on a Mission is the best Unison I can play in the deck.
Very cool. And I do have one question. So Dodoria, I like this card a lot in this deck because you always have a Unison, so it's pretty much always live. But I am curious about why only 1 copy, because I noticed in your side deck there is not another copy of Dodoria, and I think it's really good for stopping like Robotic Riposte, Oceanus Negate, stuff like that. So did you ever wish you had another copy? Well, I guess you also have Focus Breakthrough, so I guess they're kind of similar.
Yes, I think I'm gonna change Focus Breakthrough for Dodoria just because Focus Breakthrough I need to beat 4 or less, and Dodoria it will be pretty much always live in this deck.
Right.
With all the Unisons playing. And yeah, sometimes I wish I have more, to be honest with you. But Focus Breakthrough also made the work over there, because if they remove my Unison, then the door is not alive.
True. Very, very true. And then the final card I think we should talk about in the main deck is the secret rare, Invader's Vow. So this is basically a 1 energy, pretty much kill anything, make your opponent discard 2 cards. Why did you decide to play this secret rare, and how did you feel about it?
So, to be honest with you, I just pulled it, and I'm like, I'm just gonna play it because it's the new card. I had Kibito Kai before. I think Kibito Kai would be a perfect choice as well. But Invader's Vow, it was the MVP as well, man. It has helped me in so many matches because they weren't prepared for it. Like, they swing and combo everything. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pay 1, KO it, and drop 2. So, it depends in situations. I hope I can side an SCR. If I can, I would definitely decide Kibito Kai, because it depends on the matchup. But since I'm playing a hand destruction build, I think the drop 2 from Invader's Vow, it helps more than Kibito Kai.
Yeah, no, I think this card is a little bit better than people give it credit for, because, you know, you can kind of think about it like Heroine's Lineage, but this is just better than Heroine's Lineage, right? Because you can kill pretty much anything in the game, and you make your opponent pitch 2 cards, and it's like very sneaky. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, but that is going to cover the main deck. So we'll go down to the side deck. So Blue Impulse, just very good when your opponent plays battle cards during your turn. Big Amor, I'm curious, what do you want Big Amor for? Like maybe Sin Shenron? What other matchups was this card good against for you?
U7, man. U7 is a pain. It's a pain for me, and Big Amor was the only way I have to actually counter U7, because if they go to their 4-drop or their SCR, they won't be able to attack with it.
That makes sense. And then Machika Bora, you're playing this against pretty much any deck that's reliant on a specific battle card. You have to just know the meta to know how to use Machika Bora.
Correct.
And then we have Koitsukai at 1, Gohan, Hidden Might, and Chill the Assailant. So 2 pieces of barrier removal. Would you say that one was better than the other, or were they both kind of for different situations?
So if I know I was being a match against barrier that I need a barrier removal, I just side them both just because it's very situational. For example, I can pay 2 for shield and just remove it, or pay 2 for Gohan if I'm at 3 or less, and I actually have another double strike body on field.
Very cool. And then we have 2 copies of Deborah. Did you play against any mirror matches or any hand control decks?
Yes, I played against 1 mirror match and against Cell. But I never had a chance to actually play the Bora. But I decide them between those matchups.
Gotcha. And then 2 copies of Oceana Shenron. So, why did you decide to play this one? I'm curious, because, you know, green has the Boo negate, for example. Did you think it was more valuable to mill your opponent out rather than make them pitch cards?
Yeah, U7 as well. It's just to be safe against U7. I think U7 is one of the hardest matchups for, not even for the deck, but for me. And I think it's just, they stop completely because they mill so much that they won't swing.
Got you. And then we have 2 copies of Kami just for your blue decks. And then wrapping up the side deck, we have the Vegeta Resolute Agent of Destruction. This is really cool. I like the side deck a lot because it just lets you remove a field full of barrier cards. Like if you're up against Yellow Piccolo or Yellow Trunks, I think that's very good. And then 1 Kakunsa just to negate and then kill pretty much anything. So what did you want to bring this in against?
I sided just in case. I never used it, and I think I never sided in the tournament. But it's a cool card. Nothing else, to be honest. Just a cool card.
Gotcha. All right, so that is going to take us through the entire deck, and we already talked about a lot of changes, so I definitely appreciate that. I think the viewers will also appreciate that because they're going to want to take this and kind of figure out how to play it their way. But anyways, so yeah, any shout outs you want to throw out there here at the end?
Oh yeah, for sure. So my first shout out gonna be to Ryan Canon Lee from El Topo Loco. He was the person who showed me the deck, and since he showed me the deck and started testing, we were talking about it a lot, and I was making changes, he was making changes, and then I finally cracked it to my playstyle. So shout out to him, shout out to Tamer and Brandon. They are my homies in the game. We test a lot, we talk a lot in the game, and of course to my Dallas Locals guys. We always test here a lot. Locals are here in Dallas are pretty good, and well, that has prepared me to get this second place, man.
Awesome, Andres. Huge congratulations again, and we will see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Yo, Dragon Ballers, quick break in the video to give a huge shout out to PPG, who is going above and beyond to make our organized play season the best that it can possibly be. I'm here on the PPG event management website. I'm going to link this down in the description, so all you have to do to sign up for any of these events is go down to that link. Next up is the Origins event, which is a huge one, guys. They have events going from Wednesday to Saturday. Practically every single day of the con, you can play a Dragon Ball Super event among other card games. It's going to be an absolutely incredible time. Next up after that, we have an event in Denver, which is for the Pro Play Tour organized season. Not only are you playing for an invite to the Pro Play Invitational, but you're also playing for $2,000 guaranteed. And if you want to, guys, there is also a Team War event in that same weekend, and Team War is one of the best formats to play. If you haven't played a tournament with your friends, you absolutely have to do it. And then finally, an event that I know for sure that I'll be attending is the Too Many Games convention in Philadelphia. This is actually a regional for the regular Dragon Ball Super organized play season. So again, guys, super huge shout out to PPG. Secondly, this website is so awesomely laid out. All you have to do is go to this website. All these different tabs here will take you to the events you want to sign up for. I hope to see you guys there. Let's get back into the video.